Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Evolving with Soul. It's been a minute since we've seen you, and so we're so excited to be here today. I'm Josette Diaz, and I am a self-awareness coach for women in midlife, and I have a beautiful community called the Art of Awareness, where we dive underneath the subconscious mind through the creative process and start a conversation with your soul. So, if you're interested in finding out what's underneath all the thoughts and emotions that you have, so that you can build on your emotional intelligence, improve your leadership, improve your life and relationships, then you might want to check out the Art of Awareness. And I am joined by the beautiful Vasi Huntalas, who is the founder of Ignite Your Soul. And she guides new and seasoned entrepreneurs to uncover their deeper purpose so they can create the impact their heart and soul are calling them to make. After 15 years as a traditional coach, she was led to fully embrace her gifts as an intuitive and artist. Through her journey, she broke free from her inner critic and pioneered an intuitive painting process that has helped hundreds of people find clarity, confidence, and a deeper connection with their true selves. Now, as a breakthrough mindset mentor, she blends intuition and creativity to help visionary leaders clear subconscious blocks fast and step into their next level success aligned, effortless, and in flow with their purpose. So, Vasi and I are going to have a really great conversation today. We're talking about mindfulness and the creative process. And so, we have some really great topics that we're going to be covering today. Good morning, Vasi. It's so nice to have you.
Oh, it's so great to be with you again, Josette. And hi to everyone who's joining us live and on the replay. We're so glad you're here.
Yeah, super excited to jump in today. We have some really great things that we're going to be talking about around mindfulness and the creative process and what that type of journey takes us on in different aspects, and how to use mindfulness to help you go deeper within yourself to be in touch with that essence of who you truly are. So, are you ready to get started?
Yes, let's dive in. This is such a juicy topic, isn't
I know.
it?
I want to start with this first question because
Mhm.
I think that it's going to really set the precedence for our conversation. So here it goes. What does it mean to create from presence rather than pressure?
That is so important, isn't it? And so
Yeah.
let's spend a little time defining presence too.
Yes.
So we're on the same page with that, or maybe multiple pages. We'll see how that goes. So, to me, when we create from presence, that's our energy,
Hmm.
that's our essence, right? And so, presence is being, I love that as a different way to talk about mindfulness, because to me, mindfulness feels a little heady, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that term. And basically, it just means being present
Hmm.
and being present in our body, being present in our heart, being present, clear minded.
Hmm.
And all that contributes to our presence because we know when someone is in their energy, not who they think they should be, but in their energy, in
Hmm.
their essence. And
That's
so when we create from from that place of presence, what we're creating from is our true self, our authenticity, without the obligations like pressure, like should. Like, let's say we have a deadline, excuse me, and we come at it from a sense of, we got to get this done no matter what. And there's some part of ourself that gets lost out of that,
yeah.
gets left out. And so with creativity, it's there's no pressure. I mean, it's the antithesis of pressure is creative,
Hmm.
because when we're in our presence, we're just expressing ourselves.
Yeah.
And so it's like expression, not expectation. That could be another way that we look at it.
Mm.
Yeah.
I'm just letting those words sit with me for a minute, because there were so many things that I think were really powerful about what you spoke of. And especially when we speak of presence, And you said something really, I think that a lot of us don't really consider a majority of the time, which is that you can tell when someone's really in their energy. And what does that look like? Right? How do you know
Mhm.
that that's what that is that you're seeing? And it really seems to me when I think of that is like those moments when you see someone that feels very in ease with themselves, like
Mm.
there's no pretense, there's no embarrassment, there's no anything. It's just really like a total beingness. And I think that you can see that in the way that they carry themselves. And when you're in that space, that is that connection. I think that we can, especially as we practice getting to that place more often, you'll see someone vacillate in and out of it.
Mhm.
And the stronger or more consistent they are, the stronger that presence gets, right?
Right.
And that can either attract or retract. And so sometimes people might be, well, this is going in a whole different direction. So let me redirect
That
myself. So because I was going to take it somewhere else, and I don't want to do that. So that I think is such a powerful thing to recognize. And creativity in my mind, out of what you were saying, it's like you were talking about how creativity is just this open, like expanded field, which to me represents like freedom. So
Mhm.
being in that present state within yourself and owning your, like being responsible for your own energy,
Yeah.
allows you to like then dive into that open field of freedom of creativity, which doesn't always have to look like you're picking up a paintbrush. It can be new ideas, it can be all kinds of other things. What do you think of that? Like, what does that bring to you when you think of it in
Yeah.
those terms? Like,
Yeah. Well, I love that you use the word freedom, and then earlier you used the word connection.
mhm,
And I think that's so important. And when we look at creativity, like you said, it's beyond maybe picking up a piece of paper or something like that. We are creative beings. So basically 24/7 we're creating, whether we're creating in our sleep, right? In our
right,
dream
right,
state, or we're creating stress in our daytime, or we're creating content or things for our business, or creating strategies, or creating resources for our client, or
mhm,
there's so many aspects when you think about us as
right,
creativity, the ways that we express it. And so the more that we have, I'm going to use the word permission, the more that we
mm,
give ourselves permission and spaciousness to be our true selves, the more that we can have that freedom in terms of our creativity,
yeah,
because we're not coming from a place of an identity,
mhm,
or a limiting belief that's driving us. And that's where the pressure comes from. To go back to that question of presence versus pressure, pressure comes from a sense of thinking and expectation, or
mm,
trying to fit ourselves into a certain identity or box, or I think my website is supposed to look this way, or I think my marketing is supposed to look this way, or I think this is what I'm supposed to be creating. When maybe deeper inside of us is like, maybe now is the time to create some stillness and some spaciousness inside,
yeah,
right? That's our energy.
mhm,
And so maybe the energy needs to be inward right now rather than outward,
mhm,
and creating space within ourselves. So to me, that's another aspect of freedom, is being able to not be in that box, to see in the moment what is needed for ourselves,
mhm.
to have that freedom and that connection.
I think that that is really, really important, because and to allow yourself to, like you mentioned, the expectations, allowing ourselves to release expectations from what we put boundaries around what we can and cannot do. And really, they're just limitations that we have conjured up. They're not even really real,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And they come from different places, yet we've agreed to use them And so I think that it's such a great explanation on releasing, just like I see yourself kind of kicking down those fences
Mm.
and banishing them, that they don't really need apply. They don't need to be there. So I think that's a great way to kind of allow yourself not to be so limited. And I'd like to, since we've kind of gotten to that place, how does creativity help us uncover all of those hidden parts of ourselves?
There's so many ways that creativity helps us uncover those parts of ourselves. And, for me, speaking personally, is it reflected back to me the inner critic. So as
Mhm.
I was doing creative things, I would hear the voice of the inner critic. This
Yeah.
may sound familiar to some of us. Things like, what do you think you're doing?
Mhm.
You're not fill in the blank, So if you're doing something creative, singing, dancing, art, you're not an artist, you're not a singer. Who do you think you are? That's a waste of time. That's another way that the inner critic comes in. That's not good at all. Why are you wasting time on this? What's the point? Um, that Oh, you can't even show that to anyone. You would just be so ridiculed. So there's so many ways that creativity can reflect back to us the places in which we're keeping ourselves small or in a box or constricted in a way.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of the way to surface the limiting beliefs, is to notice that and to
Yes.
keep going,
Right.
not to stop, right?
Right.
Is
Yes.
like, oh, okay, I see you now. I see those aren't true, what you're
Mhm.
saying. I remember once I was doing something and just having so much joy, and then hearing the inner critic, and I'm like, you're not going to stop me this time. No,
Go.
because I was because for many years it was like the truth. I thought that was the truth, the inner critic. And so I think that's the possibility of creativity, is it allows us to have a choice, right?
Yes.
And to see the ways in which we're keeping ourselves small or sabotaging ourselves or
Mhm.
keeping us from that joy. Because we all have like core energies. And I think for so many of us, joy is one of them.
Yes.
Joy, playfulness, right? And um, so when we see the ways in which we're being stopped from embracing our joy, it's like, oh, okay, I have a choice here. And
Right.
sometimes we fall into fault. We don't see that we have a choice. So
Yes.
that's one of the ways. I have some other too, but I want to kick the ball back to you, Josette, and see what you would like to add to that piece.
No, I completely agree. I was just thinking about, some of the revelations that I see women have through art and how they start to recognize that there have been beliefs that they've carried by the, personas that they stepped into, especially as children, to survive childhood or, you know, whether that was in their household or at school or whatever, because they had to play the role in their family. And so when they start to uncover that that is really just a role they played, a persona that they stepped into, and that had a whole bunch of other expectations around that personality, and
Mhm.
that they no longer, one, live there, they no longer adhere to those different expectations, and yet that person keeps showing up and causing roadblocks in their life. That little inner person shows up, that it really starts to help them break free and be more in touch with their truest essence within them. And that is such a beautiful thing to be able to do. And I find that art and creativity, whether you're drawing a stick figure or whether you're drawing a beautiful flower, it doesn't matter. The
Mhm.
art already knows the message because it's speaking through your soul, is how I see
Mhm.
it,
Yeah.
and then it's revealed. And so, I really find that you can unfold so beautifully in art to really get back to the person or the essence of who you really are. I don't wanna say
Mm,
person because that's, because we're really speaking of what is the truth of us, which is
mm,
right there in the center.
yeah,
And
exactly.
mm,
Yeah. And the part about like the art being a reflection of
mhm.
us,
Yeah,
I absolutely love that because what that is, life can be messy. Emotions can be messy. We can get in places of confusion
right.
during our day, and even confusion maybe about what we want or what would make us happy or what it is we're experiencing or why we're experiencing some event or some challenge in our life. And when you do art and you sit there, and let's just use it like painting, for example,
Mhm.
intuitive painting or something like
Yeah.
that, for example, or even collaging. I don't
Mm.
know why that's coming up to mention, but as you start to work with that, then that becomes a reflection of something within you that you're giving it a voice,
Right.
right? And I know you work with people a lot on this with women, is having those voices come out. And that's what's so beautiful is like you can be in conversation with what you're creating. And it can reveal to you certain things that the conscious mind can't get at, or our left brain is trying to analyze it, but it goes at a deeper level.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, I painted something maybe about a month ago, and it's on the wall across from me.
Mhm.
And I really wasn't quite sure what it was about. I hadn't really sat with it a lot, but over the last month, every once in a while, I'll look up at it and I'll get something different from it. And obviously, I'm different from a month ago, so I'm
Right.
continuing to get things. Like, I think part of it too is there's a decoding within the
Mm,
art, and
mm.
as we look in that moment, there's something for us. But if we keep connecting in with it, it'll reveal something else to us that now we're ready to see that
Yes.
maybe we weren't. And so in this painting, when I did it, I could see that there was some new life that was coming out. And there's some leaves and heart that's growing and taking root. But as I began to look at it, what I'm noticing is there's less static or less um, confusion.
Mm.
And there's more like a place of returning to clarity within myself. When I painted that, there was some things that weren't quite clear to me.
Right.
And so it's like, okay, I'm sitting in the stillness, which is
Mm.
part of what we're talking about today, right? And it's like the more I sit in the stillness with that painting, the more is revealed to me and the more that I'm able to decode some of the symbols that my true self, my higher self, was wanting me to have on my journey. And I even would go so far as to say that I think there's things she planted for me now that I didn't even know, right? Like my future self came and said, "You're going to be ready for this in a month. So hang it up on the wall." Because not everything gets hung up, right? It gets done,
Right.
it's in a journal, we put it away.
Yeah.
But what if we keep it up, right? And what if we continue to ask, as you and I both love to do with our paintings, what are you
Mhm.
the energy of?
Yeah.
What do you have to share with me?
Yeah.
Who am I becoming?
Mm.
What is there for me to see that's I'm not aware of right now? Show me. Show me what I'm ready for next.
I absolutely love that. I really love that you brought up, it's like a decoding of the heart. And when you speak of, your art is in a code, and it's interesting how you just automatically kind of decode it. That it's not like you're thinking of like, how am I gonna decode this?" There's not like a particular formula.
Yeah.
It's an arrival of information that, um, activates different parts of you
Mhm.
or different the energy then starts to arrive and formulate, and then it becomes a feeling, and then it becomes a thought, and then you, are able to put it together. And so I just really love that you mentioned that because it's so true. Even when you just look at someone else's painting, there you're going to find the different aspects in it that will speak to you that maybe the artist didn't necessarily plant consciously, and it's meant for you as well.
Mhm.
And I think that that's such an important thing to mention and to talk about, because there's so much there for you. So it's not just simply, oh, I'm going to sit and finger paint, which I love to do because it feels so free to
Me
me.
too.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah.
And when you're doing that, just think about the contact of, I know I'm getting a little bit into the semantics of it, yet there is something that's very activating about that process.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
And
yeah, go ahead, please.
I love that you use the word activation, because there is something that gets activated that allows, I think we're, I don't think, I know that we're activating our intuition
Yeah.
at a deeper level. And we're also activating potential within us.
Mm.
And by that, I mean that there's something that we may not be able to access in our life, in our expression, in our connection with ourself
Right.
in this conscious waking life. But when we create something and then we interact with it, it has the capacity to activate us at a deeper level, at a symbolic level, at a deep emotional or energetic level that
Mhm.
we can't get there with our mind.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like when you take a problem and you just can't figure it out. I've been in those situations where, I didn't really love playing out the consequences on either decision that I would make, and so I just stand still. You
Mm,
know?
yeah.
And then if you use art to help you, or creativity, doesn't necessarily have to be
Mhm.
or whatever. If you use creativity, just that open space of freedom, allows you to access, like you said, different angles of solutions.
Mhm.
And this whole conversation brings me to this next question, which I think is perfectly timed, as is everything. um, what part of your essence have you redefined through your creative practice?
Mm. I would have to say parts. But I'll speak to one of the parts because
Okay.
there's been some different aspects. But one of them has been my playful side.
Mm.
And once I saw the inner critic for what it was and how it was interfering in this joyful activity I had of painting or creating or whatever with art, then I was able to activate. When you go back to what we're
Yeah.
saying about activation, activate my playful side. And that playful side didn't want to use brushes, didn't want to use anything that was attached to what art looked like or
Mm.
as a technique or anything like that. I remember when I was in my teens or something and I was in an art class and I absolutely hated it. Just hated it. And people thought, "Oh, you like to be creative." And it's like I hated that. I hated the technique. So
Mm.
my playful side came out as an adult when I started using art, and I began using, like you said, finger painting,
Yeah.
and objects from nature. As you know, I would go on walks with my dog and pick up objects and then get really curious and play with them and paint them and use them to paint and I've even cut up vegetables before and, celery and different things like that. So that playful side and connected to that playful side is curiosity,
Mhm.
which can make us so creative and can really open the floodgates for our self-expression. And so the more that we do that, the more it becomes like fun. It's like, oh, I'm curious how this will be. And then that fed into my playfulness. And then that fed into my sense of curiosity. Like, I wonder what would happen if there's no inner critic there. There's just this sense of innovation and exploration and imagination. And so my playful side just has so flourished through creativity.
Mm. I love that. I think that that's so, what's the word I wanna use? The first word that I don't even know if this is correct, but apropos. It just sounds,
Yeah.
it's like, that exploration and curiosity, again, to me, is like another word of freedom, so it really connects to that place of creativity where you can just expand in it and allow yourself to dream in your creations, no matter what they are.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, and dreaming at it through our creation, it's like opening up that unlimited aspect of our right brain, and even beyond that, our connection with our higher self, our true self. And so as we get into that flow, which flow isn't that such a fun place to be in,
Yeah.
right? When we're in flow, like there's no containment.
Mhm.
There's just a sense of, oh, where are we going next? And then what's possible?
Yeah.
And so, that sense of opening to different parts of ourself can also be opening to the part of ourself that is more of a, I'm going to use the word feminine,
Mhm.
more of a feminine expansiveness.
Mhm.
Because so often during the day, we're in a very focused, linear left brain world. We're analyzing, we're planning, we're judging, we're um, executing, implementing, right?
Yeah.
Which requires a sense of focus, which is great. And as a balance, we also need to go into more of what's often been called a feminine energy, which is around flow, which is not going towards a certain outcome. It's then
Mhm.
that exploration. And yes, something can come from that after we've explored. We may find a focus, but sometimes we have to go wide before we can go focus.
Yes. I agree.
Otherwise, we could be going in a direction that's not going to bring joy or
Mhm.
profitability or impact or any of those things that are important to many of us.
I agree. I think that also when you speak of, being in that linear environment and then not accessing the feminine as often, it the one thing that I would like to add to that is the more that you practice the ability to be in that creative space, it allows you to bring in the feminine during those linear moments in your life, like, say you work at a corporate job, that the practice of creativity allows more access to different solutions and allows you to bring that piece into your and weave it into your linear experience. Would you
Yes,
agree with that?
completely, completely. And the word that's coming to me is harmonizing.
Mhm, mhm.
And for each of us, that's going to be different how we harmonize and what the parts, that we harmonize together. So, I'm thinking, for example, if if I were to approach something, for example, writing a newsletter or something,
Yeah.
right? Some aspect of business, and it's like, the typical way would be like make a list. What are the things that need to be done? Work through the list. However, if we start, what is the idea for that newsletter? Because it's not just executing something, it's like there's a creative inspiration that comes in. What is the message? What is it that is wanting to be delivered through me
Mhm.
to the people reading this newsletter, as an
Yes.
example, right?
Yeah.
And so in the beginning, that may be, I might do a painting. That's just how I work. I might do a painting and ask the energy and speak to that. I might intuitively go out in nature, go for a walk, and just see what inspiration comes to me. All those are very sort of feminine flow ways, right, of
Yeah.
generating an idea. And then once working on that newsletter, maybe writing it, maybe then harmonizing, like you're saying, or the word that I chose in terms of blending those energies. Then as you're writing it, maybe going, well, what image should be here, right? What colors? What metaphor, right? And so it's not just start here and then use this masculine and no, it's like
Step 1, 2, 3,
weaving
4.
them together. It's not linear. Yeah, it's like, how can I weave this together? So at the completion of what I'm doing, there's a wholeness to it,
Yes.
right? Because each of us has that wholeness within us, those energies that we're harmonizing.
Mhm.
And so it just brings more of a harmonious whole to
Yeah.
whatever we're creating when we can weave those energies together of that masculine, of the feminine, of the right brain, left brain, of the creative, of the analytical. We're all talking about the same thing pretty much, right?
Exactly. Yes, I love that. I absolutely love that explanation, and it was such a good example because I think that's something that's easily relatable, that people can really see that. And then what I also love is that there's going to be a certain kind of reaction to, um, well, from the example of a newsletter, if you receive a newsletter that's had that much kind of, expression and thought, it's going to hit people in a certain way, right? They're going to feel that intention behind it,
Mhm.
no matter what, whether they get it on a feeling level or an intellectual level. So I think that that's such a great example of how even in other activities, the way that that interacts with others on various levels within them is very inspirational and influential.
Mhm. Yeah.
And we talked a lot earlier, and I want to kind of circle back to this because I think it's an important piece to end our conversation with. And let's just kind of talk for a moment about the role that stillness plays in receiving creative insight. Because you were just really kind of explaining a lot of that.
Yeah. So stillness is challenging to find in today's world. It's not impossible.
Mm,
What it requires from us is intention, to make stillness and intention a priority.
yeah.
And, it's important when we're receiving creative insight because creative insight this is going to be hard to put into words, at least right now. So let me see. I feel like there's a metaphor to share with it. Um, so imagine you're sitting by a stream and there's a sense of water flowing. There's a sense of trees. There's a lot of things going on. If you are darting about, right? All you're getting is the outward um, picture of what things are. But if you take a moment and you find a rock, you sit on a rock and you get quiet and you really are still inside. You aren't saying, "Oh, your mind isn't going, oh, that tree is green or that creek is loud or whatever." And you're in a place of stillness, then you're connecting energetically with nature in this case. And there's an openness in your mind to receive. And that's what stillness does in terms of creative insight is it opens us to receive the
Mm,
inspiration, to receive the insight, to receive perspective, to receive whatever it is
yeah.
that our true self is sensing, knowing that we are ready to express.
Mhm.
And it could be through a thought, it could be through a picture we receive. So, right now, for example, when you asked me that question, I went into a place of stillness within myself to answer that. And that showed me that the stillness wasn't in me talking at that moment, the stillness was in me asking for a metaphor.
Mhm.
And so, stillness also creates a connection to our intuition as well.
Mm.
And to me, that's another word for creativity. That's another dimension of creativity, is our
Yeah,
intuition.
I love that explanation. That is such a powerful way to express how stillness can impact. um, your ability to connect in and to bring out the truest parts of yourself, and expressing it as a different dimension of creativity is just a brilliant explanation. It's brilliant.
Thank
And
you.
yes, go ahead.
There's something, and I wish I had it in front of me. I'm almost done with a book right now on living your purpose. And I asked, as I write it, I asked my higher self to give me the inspiration. And I do go to a place of stillness. So I actually asked, what is stillness?
Mm,
And in a part of the book. And what couple things I remember that came through was stillness is the space between our thoughts,
yes.
right? Stillness is like a clear pond. There's no ripples that we look through it. Like, so stillness can give us clarity.
Mhm.
And stillness is a place where we connect with our soul. Stillness allows that instant connection with our soul.
Yes. Yeah, I love that.
And I just want to invite anyone that's listening right now to give yourself the gift of stillness today, maybe in this moment as you're listening, maybe even after you're done. Just give yourself a moment of stillness, whatever that looks like for you. For me, nature helps,
Mhm.
art, whatever it is for you. Give yourself that gift of stillness.
Mm.
No expectation. Just, just be, because that's what stillness is, right? It's us
Yeah.
being who
Yeah.
we truly are.
Yes, I love that. And I also think that, you brought it up when you were asking for the metaphor, that there's a stillness, and I think that we are in such a fast-paced world, in such a you better know your stuff kind of world, and you better have the right reactions, that we've lost the ability for us to hold off for a moment and ponder, that we don't really have to give answers and the right advice on a moment's notice. And it doesn't have to be immediate. And so
Mhm.
taking that time to sink into that stillness place allows you to have more thoughtful responses, more truth will be revealed rather than an egoic, immediate, contrived answer.
Mhm.
And so I think that in improving in your communication with stillness is also a part of what you were speaking to, giving yourself that moment to be still for a moment to give the right kind of metaphor. And what I picked up on through your metaphor of it's true, you can be out in nature and feel like there's a lot going on. You hear the wind, you hear the rustle of the trees, you hear the river running, you hear, whatever. And maybe you even hear traffic in the distance. Yet if you were to sit for a moment and allow yourself to just connect into that stillness, you can then feel the flow. It's like things start to slow down around you.
Mhm.
And,
Yeah.
I love that. That was the sensation I got when I was listening to sitting on the rock and being still for a moment, and then everything sort of slowed down,
Mhm.
and you can see the connectivity of it all.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that.
And when you can see the connectivity in it all, then that reconnects you to yourself,
Mhm.
right? It's
Yes.
like because you're part of everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Well, our time is up, but I would like to ask you, because you mentioned it, that, you have a book coming. So would you like to speak of that a little bit?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's called Living Your Purpose in a Noisy World, and it's
Mhm.
about how we can really show up for our purpose. And gosh, it'll almost be a year ago that I woke up one morning and the whole book chapter names and outlines was given to me.
Wow.
So I just write a little bit, and more is being revealed to me. So it includes some of my poetry from some of my paintings, and I think some of my artwork will go in it.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, stay tuned for that. It's 2 more chapters to go. I'm probably a few months from having it complete. Yeah.
That's so exciting. Well, we'll be talking about it along the way.
Yes.
'Cause
Great.
I cannot wait. I love that you've written this book, and it just, it's gonna be something really special. So I'm very excited for it. And thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to share that you have coming up, Vasi?
Um, let's see. What's coming up for me to share is to encourage people to give themselves permission for any kind of creative expression that's wanting to come through. It could even be skipping, it can be dancing. I mean, it could be anything. It's like give yourself permission to have fun with whatever it is that is your expression of creativity. And Josette and I, we've shared some of the things that we do. Give yourself permission to explore what that is for you, what brings you into that place of stillness and joy at the same time.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. I think
Thank
this
you,
was such a
Josette.
Oh, yes, of course. This was such a great conversation. I really enjoy, when we get to have these types of deeper, conversations, 'cause the things that we talk about in art and creating the space to allow you to open up are, all things that anyone can do, and you become your own guru, where you get the
Yes.
answers from within, right?
Yes. Yes.
And
Absolutely.
yes, thank you. I really love having these conversations with you, Vasi. You're so
Mm.
much better to have them with.
Thank you for the opportunity, Josette.
Well, I'd like to, let all of you know that you are welcome and invited to come into the Art of Awareness. We do have 2 different meetings this week. One's on Wednesday and one's on Thursday. They both start at 6 PM Pacific Time. So if you're interested, you can leave a comment in the comments. And I'd like to leave you with this quote, that your inner state is the soil and your dream is the seed. So allow yourself the opportunity to sit with what's most important to you. What do you value the most? And plant your seeds carefully with thought and consideration. And we will see you next week. I hope you enjoyed our conversation today about mindfulness and stepping into creativity. So have a wonderful week, everyone. Thank you.